Hi, Henny, how are you? It's Teknikolour. I am back with another speed build today, and this one is a shell challenge that my friend TinySnub is hosting. Let's check it out. So if you're unfamiliar with what a shell challenge is, basically, the whole thought process behind it is that a person will make a shell of build, and you then create anything that you want with it, but you can't change the exterior walls at all. Sometimes you can change some of the interior walls, but typically the whole rule set is that you could do pretty much anything that you want except change the shell's walls. And in this case, my friend TinySnub is celebrating 1,000 followers over on her Twitch channel, and I couldn't wait to dive into this shell challenge. As soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, I know exactly what I want to do. It took me a lot longer to do it though. I set out to do it this weekend and I was like, oh, this won't be too bad. This won't be too bad. I just knew that parts of it were going to be super easy, but the rest of it just did not come together easily at all. So Tiny, if you're watching this, thank you for that. But no, I had so much fun doing this shell challenge. I knew that I wanted it to be kind of a mixture of Love Struck and life and death items, and somehow it spiraled and it was like every single pack ever. Which is good because her shell challenges so far, you can use any pack. So thank you, Tiny. So basically for this shell challenge, it's kind of like shaped like a Y, depending on how you rotate it. And I knew that I wanted the base of this Y to be the entrance. And I wasn't expecting it to look the way that it does now because I kind of forgot about the front windows for a good chunk of change. And then once I ended up kind of having rooms-ish on the sides, I was like, oh, okay, I can kind of add windows, but I don't really want them to look like this. So then I only found those two Love Struck windows towards the end, and then I was like, okay, this will have to do. The kitchen, I'll say, was probably the most difficult part because I had originally wanted to have the kitchen have an island like it does, but I wanted that wall where you can kind of like look into the backyard area. I wanted that to be open, but I also wanted it to be closed. So here's the thing. Here's something that I would love to see in The Sims 4. I would like us to be able to do half walls, but from the ceiling as well. I basically just want walls that kind of have space in between. I don't know if that's a thing that exists in the real world, but I desperately want it in the Sims world because I wanted there to be a sort of like pass-through window, which we don't have a ton of those, really. The one that works the best is from Dine Out, understandably so, but I don't want to use that kitchen set. And I don't want it to look like a restaurant. We do have some windows that you can have that are open, but no matter what I did, I felt like the spacing for it just did not fit. I was originally going to use those windows from Horse Ranch that actually have the like spindles in between, because it kind of reminds me of how my parents' house looked growing up, because they had like a pass-through window, but it wasn't really a pass-through. It just had like these sort of bars, and it whatever I tried, it just wasn't working out. So I decided, nope, can't use that. And it just became a plain wall, which did work out because I knew that I wanted to use the new fireplace from Life and Death because I wanted to see if I could cover the skull on the new fireplace from Life and Death. Okay, don't get me wrong. I love a lot of the new items from Life and Death, but I feel like sometimes you don't really want the death look. And a lot of them have skulls on them. So I don't know. I was like, I don't want that part visible, so I want to hide it with a television. So I decided to use that frame TV where it looks like it's art when it's not on. So I knew that I was going to put that there, and I had to use the tool mod to size it up and move it into place just so it would not look odd. And it still does look odd. I think it's a little too high up for my liking, but I feel like that about every single time that I add a TV above a fireplace. But I don't know, it'll have to work. It'll have to work. I knew that I also wanted there to be some sort of view into the backyard from the living room. And I guess it doesn't really matter because your back is going to be to that for the majority of the time that you're in the living room, because the way the couches are set up, like, you're gonna have to turn. But I guess you would have to do that to watch the TV too. So I don't know. I will say I used the life and death counters a ton in this build, and they really came through. They really came through. They sort of have a similar vibe to me as the Parenthood cabinets, but more elevated. I don't know if that like makes sense to you, but that's the only way that I see it. And I knew that for the office, I wanted to create something that had a lot of built-in cabinets, and it was kind of like a built-in desk, because you can do that with the counters. If you did not realize, you can take a counter, an island counter to be more specific, and you can put a computer on it or a laptop, and it's functional. Your Sims can use it. So I wanted to take advantage of that, and I wanted to create this sort of like secluded little office that looked kind of grand, because a lot of the stuff that I'm building with in this build, even though some of it's modern and some of it's really not, I wanted it to look elevated. I wanted it to look posh, if you will. And I think I achieved that. I think the Strangerville doors and windows really helped towards that, even though I think the windows that I ended up using might actually be from Get Famous, but I guess that makes sense that they would be a little more elevated looking. I also knew that I just had to use the piano from the wedding pack, My Wedding Stories. That piano is beautiful. I don't understand it. Because I don't think it would really work well with like the greenery inside of it, but you know, whatever, it looks beautiful. But I knew that I wanted it to be open, and I knew that I wanted it to be a nice view into the backyard from either space, because I wanted it to look like an entertainment area. I wanted it to look like they are hosting parties here, and it might go from, okay, we're cooking in the kitchen, and then now we're eating in the dining area, and now we're gonna move on into the living room, and maybe we could sit at the couches, or maybe we'll hang around the piano. I don't know. I just wanted it to be open, and I wanted it to be airy, and I wanted it to be closed off where it needed to be. And I struggle with that with my builds a lot. I always end up closing off every single build that I build because I don't like open floor plans, like at all. I am not an open floor plan girly. If you were to give me a house, or you were to give me an apartment that had like no hallway, or everything was fully open, so the kitchen is open into the living room and the living room's open into the dining room, like everything is just all open concept, I will hate it. I'm not a fan of that. I don't know what it is. I think it's because growing up, my parents' house, it was set up a little interestingly. It wasn't open floor plan at all, but basically my parents' house had the kitchen, which was eat-in, and then that basically had a door into the dining room, and that dining room had a door into the living room. But those doors didn't really have like doors. It was just like an open doorway, but you had to pass through each to get to any of those other rooms. And I always thought it made more sense to have like a hallway, which I guess technically it does, but not really. I feel like I would have to show you the floor plan to fully explain what I mean, but I just always felt like everything was this weird mixture of closed off and open floor plan at the same time. And it just always like frustrated me, especially because like if you were in the living room and you wanted to watch a TV show or something, but your parents were in the kitchen cooking, for instance, and they had music on, like you're gonna hear the music. Or if you're in the kitchen and you're studying or something at the kitchen table and you would like to, I don't know, not really hear anything, you're gonna hear the TV in the living room. Or if you are at the dining room table and doing homework, or you're, I don't know, eating dinner and somebody's watching TV, like you'll hear everything because it's on the other wall. But like, I don't know, it just always made me, I don't know, kind of like for the future, that's something that I wouldn't want. Weirdly enough, the way that my apartment right now is set up is this room is actually my bedroom, and my desk is sat right here. You can see the bed there. And it is so secluded kind of from the rest of the apartment because there is a tiny little hallway between this room and the rest of the apartment. It's not a huge apartment by any means. I am a New Yorker and I am not a rich New Yorker. So I don't have a huge apartment. It's basically just the two rooms. But there is a tiny little hallway between this bedroom and the living room and our little dining area. And I think it's enough. It makes it so that my boyfriend can be watching TV, or he can be on a work call in the living room, and I could be in here. So I'm going to be completely honest. I don't remember what I was saying. I just got a phone call from family, and I don't know what I was talking about while I was recording earlier. So I don't know. I just got to say, I have been really enjoying doing this shell challenge, because even though I have been having a lot of fun building mansions for my legacy challenge, just doing a small house was, I feel like it was exactly what I needed to like cleanse the palate, if you will. I know that doing mansion builds is a huge undertaking, and right now I only have one mansion left. Which might not seem like a lot, but this one is a 64 by 64 lot. And there's going to be a lot going into it. So I'm basically going to do the majority of that tomorrow. But I don't know. I just had such a good time doing this shell. And I've been enjoying doing the mansions, but doing this shell was just, I don't know. I felt like I could zen out. I could do it like I was doing houses and apartments and like smaller builds. Because basically for months now, I feel like I've been doing really, really large builds. So whatever I do after these mansions is probably going to be small. Maybe we'll do a tiny home. I don't know. But I really enjoyed this. And I do have to say, recently, my Twitch community has unlocked us doing shell challenges in the future. And I think I might want to do one maybe like towards the end of November, or have it like start in December or something, and there'll be like a fair amount of time for it. But is that something that you would be interested in? I know there is a lot of crossover between YouTube audience and Twitch audience. So if you aren't from Twitch and you would like to follow me over on there, I don't do The Sims every single day, but I do The Sims every Tuesday and Thursday morning on the East Coast at 10 a.m. And actually, tomorrow's stream, we are going to be checking out the new creator kits. And since I am an EA partner, we will be giving away a copy of each and just doing an overview of the kits. And I'm very excited for it. So thank you to EA for that. I'm not paid to create content like this, but I do sometimes receive packs for free, and sometimes I'm able to give things away. Like we just recently gave away Life and Death, and I checked it out in early access, and that was very exciting. So if that's something that you're interested in, we do sim every Tuesday and Thursday. Typically it's not building. We do gameplay for my legacy challenge, but I feel like for months now I've been building. And I can't wait to get back. I can't wait to get back to my legacy family. I miss them. I don't even know what they look like anymore. But yeah, I just thought I would mention that we do some Sims content over there, and we do other games as well. I'm a big fan of Palia, and I really love decorating in Palia. We also have been checking out The Last of Us, and we actually just finished the first game, and we might do the second game, but we still have the DLC of the first game, so we'll have to do that. So if that is something that you're interested in, we play a bunch of things, and I usually do story-based games on Mondays and Fridays. So I'm gonna have to figure out what my new game is gonna be. And actually, if you would like to follow my friend TinySnub on Twitch, she actually just hit 1,000 followers. That's what this shell is celebrating, her hitting 1,000 followers over on Twitch. And she's just like so fun. She plays The Sims. She does Final Fantasy. She does Demonologist. She does so many fun games. And she's honestly like such a sweet person. So I do recommend giving her a follow. And if you want, you can actually still do this shell because the due date is December 19th. And this video should be going live on Wednesday, November 12th. So you'll have more than enough time to complete it if you would like to. And I gotta be honest, this one was challenging, but it was really fun. I felt like it was like a perfect mixture. So I feel like you did a really good shell, Tiny. I had a lot of fun with this one. The last thing that we had done as a shell for Tiny, I think, was a penthouse build. And that one was really fun too. So Tiny makes some good builds. She makes some good shell builds. Also, a little bit of a update. I don't know if in any of my previous videos I have mentioned the update with our downstairs neighbor, but our downstairs neighbor has not come up in a while. If you know nothing of this drama, we have a downstairs neighbor who had just recently moved in and was convinced that we were banging on our floor whenever we heard their TV, which we weren't, because we didn't even know that they had moved in when they first knocked on our door. And we haven't heard them in their apartment since. And we had a bunch of conversations with them because they would come up angry and kind of rudely a few times, and we just tried to explain to them that we didn't hear them and we're not actively making any noise. Like sometimes, yeah, we'll drop things, or I don't know, like Andy would, like my boyfriend would grab something from the pantry, or he would like open the freezer and like a frozen bagel is falling out or something like that. I'm sure is probably a little loud, but it's definitely not intentional. And we had a few conversations with them, and then it just kept going where they would feel like I don't know, we were all on the same page, everything was fine, and then later, the second they heard any noise again, they would be pissed. And we had talked to our co-op board, and they had basically just said, don't interact with them anymore. Like, don't even open the door. And we ended up getting like a Ring doorbell just for our own safety, because this person has been like pounding on our door and also like just screaming at us through the door. And it's been intense. It's been intense, and we've had some tense living situations in the past, so we just wanted to make sure we were safe. And they had seen this Ring doorbell and had commented on it, but they haven't been up since. So I'm hoping it stays that way. We actually have another family that just recently moved in next to us, and they seem nice enough. We actually haven't had a conversation with them yet, but they have young kids, and I suspect that our downstairs neighbor might be hearing some of that, because like I know, like I can hear our upstairs neighbor, and sometimes I'll hear things that are louder than my upstairs neighbor would be. And I think that's not my upstairs neighbor. I think it's sound that's reverberating from other apartments because it's New York City. That's bound to happen. And I think maybe this person is just, I don't know, maybe not used to living in an apartment in New York City or New York City apartments with families. And this is an older building, so I don't know. Who knows? Who knows? Also, I should probably say, because I don't think I actually finished my thought, but when I was talking about my legacy challenge earlier, I do play with my legacy family every Tuesday and Thursday morning over on my Twitch channel, but we have been building. So currently, our legacy heir is going to be moving out. Basically, the next time that I start gameplay, my legacy heir is going to be moving out of San Myshuno. He had been living with his mom and he's now just aged up. He's spreading his wings. He's gonna go fly. He's off on his own. And he is going to be a big film star. He is gonna be our get famous celebrity sim. So we're moving to Del Sol Valley in the hills. And I actually, for celebratory streams like my birthday or my anniversary, I usually do this thing where if people donate a certain amount towards my channel, I will allow them to have a sim version of themselves in my save file. And it's actually been a lot of fun to do that. So the group of people has been changing like pretty much every time I've done it. And they have their whole lifespan. So they usually come in as young adults and they live usually together. But this time, since we have so many Sims and we also have the valley, the hills of Del Sol to live in, we have one group living in one mansion, which I just finished today. And then I have to have the other group, I got to build their mansion. And that one is probably going to be kind of our party area. So I want to add like a bowling alley. I want to add a whole bunch of like entertainment spaces. And I basically just want that to kind of serve as like our party place, even though we'll definitely visit the other ones. But it's been nice to include my community members like as Sims in my gameplay challenge. So I don't know. I've been really enjoying it. So if you want to see how that all shakes out, be sure to follow over on Twitch. You don't have to, of course, but if you're interested, just plug in it. Also, I just have to say, I am not a landscaper. I feel like landscaping is probably where I struggle the most in The Sims. I feel like my terrain paint lately has not been good. I did the terrain paint for this build and I did the terrain paint for the mansion that I just finished this morning. And I don't think either of them look that good. So I might have to go back and update the mansion one, but we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, so that's something that I got to work on. But I actually feel like the landscaping that I did here is so unlike my typical landscaping because I usually do the romantic garden stuff pack. I usually use the landscaping from that pack. And I just knew that it had to be different for this. And I don't know, this is not something that I normally would have done, but I think it came out really well. And I actually used some of this in the mansion that I finished building today. But yeah, that's basically all I've got. We're also basically at the end of this speed build right now. So why don't we hop into the game and I can give you a little bit of a slowed down tour because I know it's speeding up. I'm going crazy. It's hard to really see everything, and I'd like to show it off a little bit more. So here we are in the world that came with Love Struck, Ciudad, Enamorada, which is actually not where I started building this. I don't know if you noticed that during the speed build, but we ended up moving it at some point because I wanted a 30 by 30 lot and not the 30 by 40 that we were actually building on. We do actually have some solar panels on top, pink, of course, because Tiny loves pink. And the backyard, there's actually this little dining area and cooking area. And then we have the pool and we also have like some greenery and just some space to like kind of hang out. But once you get into the actual house, there is this little foyer area here. And there's a closet. There is a little half bath with laundry. And then on the other side, I actually just put a little bar here. And that is because we have the little dining area, and then we also have the breakfast area as part of the kitchen. So it's an eating kitchen, but it's also got the dining room right there. Then moving over to here, you have the living room entertainment area, and then there is that grand piano. And then moving in here, we got this lovely little office, which actually I really like the way that this came out. I don't love how everything is clipping just a little bit, but I don't know. I kind of like the way this one looks. We have the primary bedroom over here. And they've also got the primary bathroom in this spot here. And that, my friends, is basically the entire build. If you liked this video, please be sure to follow and subscribe for more content. But if you want to see more Sims content that's live, again, you can follow me over on my Twitch channel. But be sure to go follow TinySnub, and I'll drop her information down below because she is a good friend of mine and she just celebrated 1,000 followers over on Twitch. So go give her some more love. Maybe once we hit her next goal, we'll do another shell challenge. But that's all I have. I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.